Most people serve time because they're guilty. Marcus Decker wasn't one of them. For 20 years, he stared at concrete walls, counting days he didn't know. Convicted of a murder he didn't commit, Marcus had every reason to give up. But he never stopped hoping, because one day, just one, might bring a crack in the lie. And 20 years later, it did. Came in the form of a letter, one the state never expected to see, and one they tried very hard to bury. October 17, 2005. A waitress named Danielle Cole clocked out of her shift at Sammy's Diner. A storm had rolled in fast, thunder growling like a threat in the sky. She was never seen again. The last confirmed sighting was a grainy image from a parking lot camera 2 blocks away. She walked to her car, but she never got inside. By sunrise, she was a missing person. By sunset, they had a suspect. Marcus Decker had been out of prison for just over a year. A nonviolent felony, breaking and entering years ago. Since then, he worked 2 jobs, kept to himself, and had just signed the lease on a tiny apartment above a pawn shop. But he'd been in the diner the night Danielle disappeared. He was a drifter to them, a former felon with no one to vouch for him. And when police searched the dumpster behind his apartment, they found a knife, bloodied, and with Danielle's DNA on it. What the public didn't know, the knife had no fingerprints, not even Marcus's, just blood and a smudged serial number. Police claimed he'd wiped it clean, but why would he dump it right behind where he lived? Also suspicious, Danielle's name tag, found in Marcus's apartment, under his couch. Too perfectly placed, too convenient, but the jury didn't know that. The prosecution didn't care. Marcus's trial lasted 9 days. The prosecution presented DNA on the knife, the name tag, and testimony from a neighbor who heard screaming. But that neighbor later recanted privately. They were pressured by police. Still, the damage was done. Marcus's public defender didn't call a single expert witness. And when the jury came back after just 3 hours of deliberation, they said they were guilty. 20 years in Millfield Correctional. Fistfights, cold nights, broken ribs, and broken hope. Marcus read books. He earned 2 associate degrees through correspondence. He wrote over 150 letters to innocence organizations. No one answered. He didn't bother hoping anyone from the outside world remembered him. Until someone did. May 12, 2025. The warden handed him a pale yellow envelope. No name, no return address, just 3 sentences inside. You never should have gone down for that. They buried the tapes. And I know where. The postmark was local. Marcus read the letter 10 times before dawn. Something had finally cracked. The Justice Ledger. She wasn't famous. She wasn't rich. But she believed in stories like Marcus's. She'd read about his case once during college and never forgot it. The facts felt off even then. When she found out Marcus was still behind bars, she reached out. Claire met Marcus in prison 3 weeks after the letter. He looked tired but alert. When she asked what he remembered about the night Danielle disappeared, he told her everything. His coffee order, the way Danielle gave him a tired smile, the broken streetlight on the corner, the strange man in the red jacket sitting 2 booths away. She froze. There was never a mention of a red jacket in the case file. Claire filed a FOIA request. The diner's surveillance system had supposedly failed the night Danielle vanished. That's what the police said. But she found a maintenance log showing the system had been serviced just 2 days prior, and that backups were stored off-site. So where were those tapes? Retired Officer Raymond Ellis had been first on the scene back in 2005. He now lived alone in a trailer just outside town. Claire tracked him down. He was drunk by 11 a.m. and bitter about the past. But when Claire mentioned Marcus's name, he went quiet, pale. I told him we shouldn't pin it on him, he mumbled. But they needed it clean, real clean. Town couldn't take another scandal. What scandal? Claire asked. Raymond's eyes darted, and then he whispered one name, Colton Avery. Colton Avery, star quarterback in 2005. Son of Mayor Harold Avery. Untouchable. Rumors swirled back then. He and Danielle had dated briefly. It ended badly. But none of that made it into the official record. Claire searched for Colton online. He had moved away just months after the trial and never came back. Claire contacted the current owners of Sammy's Diner. They'd never heard of missing tapes. But when Claire asked about the basement, the owner blinked. There's a crawl space under the stairs. Hasn't been touched in decades. Inside, dust, broken shelves, and a taped-up box labeled Camera Footage 2005. Her hands shook as she opened it. Claire borrowed an old DVR to play the tapes. It showed Danielle's final shift. She served coffee, cleaned tables, cashed out. Then, a man in a red jacket approached her at the counter. They argued. The man grabbed her arm. She pulled away. He followed her out the back door at 1:02 a.m. It wasn't Marcus. It was Colton Avery. 3 days after the first letter, Marcus received another. If they find out I told you, I'm dead. Look into the locker at Union Storage, number 418. That's where the jacket is. Claire rushed to the location. It hadn't been opened in years. Inside, a red jacket and a notebook. The notebook was Colton's. Inside, doodles, scribbled thoughts, and a final page. I didn't mean to kill her. She said she'd tell everyone what I did. It wasn't supposed to go that far. But I couldn't let her destroy me. Panicked, and the cops cleaned it up. Claire had enough. She called an attorney. With Claire's help, the Innocence Project reopened the case. Evidence was submitted. Tapes, the jacket, the confession. The judge reviewed everything in silence. Marcus stood there, thin, gray, trembling. Finally, the judge looked up. Mr. Decker, I have no words to undo the time lost. But let me say what should have been said 20 years ago. You are a free man. News spread fast. Millfield erupted. Mayor Avery retired suddenly. Colton Avery was nowhere to be found. The DA's office launched an internal probe, and Claire's story went viral. But Marcus didn't celebrate. He walked through the streets of Millfield. Looking at faces, Marcus struggled to adjust. 20 years gone. Technology, language, the world. It all moved on without him. He started volunteering at a halfway house. Spoke to at-risk youth. Sometimes, he said, justice takes the long way home. People listened. He had found his voice. Then came the final twist. A third letter. Typed. No signature. I wasn't the only one who helped cover it up. 2 detectives. 1 judge. And someone Claire knows. It ended with, the vault holds more than confessions. If she keeps digging, she won't make it to print. Claire showed Marcus, and together they decided they were going to burn it all down. Claire had thought vault was metaphorical. It wasn't. 2 weeks after Marcus's release, a retired court clerk named Irene Kessler contacted her anonymously. I kept records they asked me to destroy, she whispered over the phone. There's a storage vault under the old courthouse. Basement, north wing, keypad code, 1917. Claire went alone. What she found wasn't just records. It was a cover-up cemetery. Inside the vault were bankers' boxes labeled in red. Cole Case Alt, Avery sealed files. Witness X, closed. But most chilling, a file labeled D. Cole, compromised. Inside were photographs. Danielle weeks before her murder, meeting with Colton Avery, and 2 older men in suits. One of them was Judge Harold Bray, the same judge who'd sentenced Marcus. Claire began comparing dates. Danielle's disappearance wasn't random. 3 other women had gone missing in the early 2000s, same age, same profile. Waitresses, students, all reported last seen near downtown Millfield. All cases were quietly closed without arrest. Claire cross-referenced every judge and prosecutor involved. 2 names came up in all 4 cases. Judge Harold Bray, Detective Lewis Cheney. When Claire told Marcus what she'd found, he didn't flinch. They killed her to silence her, and pinned it on the poor. He looked at the file boxes. Let's make sure no one forgets her again. Claire uploaded digital scans of the files. But the next morning, her apartment had been ransacked. The hard drive was missing. Only one thing left on the mirror. You were warned. Later that day, Claire received an encrypted email. Your files were copied, not stolen. Upload to the dark archive at 5 p.m. sharp. Use VPN, trust no one. Attached was a zip folder titled Petrichor. Inside, court memos, video transcripts, sealed case affidavits, and one audio file. Danielle's voice, whispering, scared, "If something happens to me, tell my mom it was Colton, but it's bigger than him. They made him do it." One photograph in the vault stuck with Claire. A different girl, unknown. Brown curls, lips split, looking directly into the camera. Claire used facial recognition. Matched. Lucia Mendez. Reported missing in 2003. Case dismissed as a runaway. Her last known employer? Sammy's Diner. Same as Danielle. Claire returned to the diner and sat down with Sammy Vaughn, the owner. He remembered Lucia. Quiet, kept to herself. Fired after she started asking questions about Danielle's schedule. Claire showed him the photo. Sammy turned pale. "She gave me something once. Said to keep it safe. I forgot about it." He retrieved a worn envelope taped to the underside of the cash register drawer. Inside, a napkin with 6 names. 3 were women, 2 missing, 1 confirmed dead. 3 were men, judges, attorneys, and 1, Colton's father. Danielle Cole, Lucia Mendez, Eva Crane, Judge Harold Bray, ADA Thomas Keene, Mayor Harold Avery. Claire had uncovered the beginnings of a trafficking operation, run by powerful men, protected by public office. Danielle had discovered it, and paid with her life. Claire received a legal notice, unexpected and sealed. A closed-door defamation inquiry, filed against her by the Avery family estate. A stall tactic, a warning. If she published, they would ruin her. Marcus, now working as a youth counselor, told her, "They already ruined me. You can't unsee the truth, Claire. So don't you dare stop now." Another envelope, this time hand-delivered. One of them turned. "Meet him where the trains don't run. Midnight. No cops." Claire debated. "But I went. An old rail yard." A shadow stepped forward. Detective Lewis Cheney. "I got out while I could," he said, coughing. "They killed Eva Crane in 2007. Buried her under a fake rehab facility. I helped bury the report. But I kept something." He handed her a VHS tape. "If you want them to burn, show this." Claire digitized the tape. It showed a secret meeting. Colton, Judge Bray, Eddie Keene, Danielle. She was crying. "You can't just make me disappear," she shouted. "We can," Bray replied calmly. "We've done it before." Colton looked away, and then Bray whispered, "We'll find someone else to take the fall. One of the strays, the ex-con, that drifter, Marcus." The silence after that was deafening. Claire could go public, but her name would be dragged through the mud. Marcus insisted, "Let them try. Truth is a flood. They can't stop it when it breaks." Together, they uploaded everything. To news outlets, to whistleblower platforms, to public servers. It went viral within hours. Mayor Avery's estate froze in investigation. Judge Bray was arrested trying to flee the country. The ADA resigned and disappeared. The town of Millfield became ground zero for one of the biggest judicial scandals in state history. Marcus Decker was invited to testify before Congress. At the hearing, Marcus stood tall. "My life was stolen, but I speak for those who didn't live to tell the truth. Danielle, Lucia, Eva, we didn't just fail. We were erased." His testimony sparked national reform on closed court records and wrongful convictions. Claire's reporting was nominated for a Pulitzer. But then, it happened again. Late one night, Claire's phone rang. Static. Then a woman's voice. Panicked. Broken. "My name is Ava. They're doing it again. Same town. Same method. New faces. Please, help." Then the line cut. Claire stared at the screen. The number was from Maple Hollow. Claire and Marcus drive into Maple Hollow. Undisturbed streets, white picket fences, yet undercurrent of fear. They meet local sheriff, Carl Reese, whose eyes betray disbelief and exhaustion. A woman in tears begs Claire, "It's happening again." They meet Ava Carter, 23, waitress at the Rustic Spoon, same profile as Danielle Eva Lucia. She shows a discarded name tag with smeared blood. She whispers, "They told me they'd do it their way." Claire flips through old local cases. 3 missing women in early 2010s, all waitresses. No arrests. Ava's situation mirrors earlier crimes. Marcus grips her hands. "We're not too late." They stake out the diner. Ava's shift ends. A man in a dark hoodie follows her. He's stopped by the sheriff after they intervene. No answers, but his presence chills them all. Sheriff Reese finds a file on closed cases. Notes on quick closures, no foul play. Same language as Millfield. Names of judges/prosecutors circle around one law firm, Hayes and Monroe Trust. They reach out to a former city clerk, Dorothy Blake, who kept a notebook, anonymously. It reveals hush money payments from Hayes and Monroe to local officials. Ava recounts a man in a Tesla tracking her shift. She nearly died inside the car. He warned her, "Stop asking or you're next." Claire presses, but Ava's eyes fill with terror. Claire finds emails showing the law firm lobbied for bills to seal misconduct claims. Judge Macmillan in Maple Hollow signed them, earning donations shortly after. History repeating. Marcus sees Ava's fear and realizes her case could break them all. They need hard proof before it's too late. They break into the firm's old storage room at Hayes and Monroe headquarters. Inside are binder trays marked Client Confidential, 2012. One file stands out, multiple references to Miss C. Carter and payment ledgers. Claire chauffeurs them away as sirens loom. A ledger with bank transactions trail leads to an offshore account. Search indicates transfers happen right before young women go missing. Ava's phone rings, unknown. Caller, "You're meddling with powerful people." Picture of Ava alone hits her phone. She collapses. Claire hacks into a backup of old court logs stored on a lawyer's server, thanks to Dorothy's access codes. Pictures and timestamps emerge. Judge's wife visiting the diner around the time of the second disappearance. Sheriff Reese confronts Judge Macmillan. Macmillan denies everything. Reese cites Ava's case and ledger. Macmillan's facade cracks slightly. Claire gets more anonymous messages. "Stop or suffer Ava's fate." They realize they're under watch. Marcus records a live video. "They framed me once, but the truth will drown them all. We stand with Ava, and we won't stop." Armed police raid Hayes and Monroe offices. They seize laptop backups, 500 gigabytes of emails, client names, shipping records. They find Ava's red coat in an evidence locker, same as the jacket from that night. Ava vanishes from Claire's safe house. They find one clue, a torn scrap reading map with coordinates. Claire, Marcus, Reese drive to coordinates. Deep woods outside Maple Hollow. Cold, windy. They find a clearing, a fresh burial mound. They unearth a body, clothed identically to Ava's uniform. It's not her, it's another missing waitress. Someone is watching from the trees. Claire turns and snaps a photo before they flee. They rush back with the photo, unmistakable digital timestamp. Matched to a lawyer at Hayes and Monroe. It's the smoking gun. Claire leaks the photo and files to national media. Breaking coverage. Another victim buried in Maple Hollow. Public attention explodes. Macmillan resigns and flees. Arrest warrants issued. Hayes and Monroe attorneys are taken into custody. Miraculously, Ava walks into the sheriff's office. Bruised, shaken, but alive. She tells them kidnappers left her with a warning and map. Tell them. Federal prosecutors step in. Ava will testify. Digital records, ledger, burial site, Hayes and Monroe complicity, all evidence ready. In court, Ava faces the judges and attorneys. Her voice trembles but carries. She says, "I suppressed fear because I know what they do to witnesses." Marcus speaks on Ava's behalf. "We won't let greed kill again. My freedom wasn't given freely. I stand for every voice buried." His words bring the courtroom to tears. Judge McMillan, 2 Harvey and Monroe lawyers, and several local officials are found guilty of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, kidnapping, and manslaughter. Sentences range from 10 to 50 years. Maple Hollow, Millfield, and surrounding towns gut their systems. Transparency laws, cold case audits, oversight boards. Claire's reporting spearheads reforms nationwide. Ava visits Danielle's memorial in Millfield. She places fresh flowers and bows her head. She and Marcus stand united. A new chapter for survivors and their families. Claire accepts a National Journalism Award. In her acceptance speech, "Truth is a flame. They can try to smother it, but it always finds air." Marcus returns to prison in a suit to speak to new inmates about hope. He becomes an advocate, a light for those crushed by justice. Justice doesn't wait on convenience. It's messy, it's painful, but without it, darkness wins. Footage of Danielle's mom placing flowers, Ava walking at dawn, Claire typing her next story. They underestimated the wrong trio, a convicted man, a journalist, a frightened girl. They built a house of lies, but didn't know it was on quicksand. Marcus embracing Claire and Ava. Flashbacks to Danielle, Lucia, Eva, all remembered. The world has changed. A fast justice in court can crack corruption. But true justice lives in lives rebuilt, in wounds healed, in voices never silenced. Nighttime. Ava walks along Maple Hollow's riverbank by lantern light. Claire and Marcus look on. They smile, tired, hopeful. Claire receives a single text. There are more vaults. No number, no signature. The camera lingers on her eyes, alert, wary. The vaults are opening. Corruption travels far. But justice, when it meets courage, is unstoppable.